Hey, I'm Sophia. Before we start, go grab a snack and get comfortable for a bit. These stories take their time, and they are told the way I'd tell a friend late at night. I really hope you enjoy them. This story has one update on it and my own opinion at the end. Comment and tell me if you agree. Let's begin. I caught my brother lying about my success. I exposed him and built my own legacy. And the worst part was that everyone at the table believed him. I was standing in my parents' kitchen holding a bowl of salad, listening to my older brother, Josh, tell my aunt how he had basically hooked me up with my promotion. He laughed, all casual. Yeah, marketing is brutal these days, so I pulled a few strings with a client I know. Got her foot in the door. Someone has to look out for her, right? My aunt made this impressed little noise. Oh, you're such a good big brother. And you? She turned to me, actually patted my arm. You're lucky to have him. The bowl slipped a little in my hands. I felt my nails biting into the plastic. I'd spent 6 months killing myself for that promotion. Late nights, weekends, rewriting campaigns until my eyes blurred. Josh had exactly zero to do with it. I could feel my face getting hot, that prickly behind the eyes feeling. That's not exactly how it happened, I said, forcing a tiny laugh that sounded wrong in my own ears. It was a Sunday, one of those bigger family lunches my parents love. I'm 29F. Josh is 33M. Growing up, he was the golden child, captain of the soccer team, business degree, first to get married. My parents still introduce him as our son, the entrepreneur. I'm our daughter, Maya, who does advertising stuff. For context, I'm a creative director at a mid-sized agency. I lead campaigns you've 100% seen if you live in our city. But to my family, it's all computer art and social media. The promotion I'd just gotten wasn't small either. I'd been moved from senior copywriter to creative director after leading a campaign for a mental health nonprofit that went semi-viral. It got written up in 2 industry blogs, and our agency landed 3 new clients off the back of it. My boss literally said, "We wouldn't have pulled this off without you." So when my aunt started gushing about how business connections are everything and how lucky I was to have Josh setting things up for me, something inside me just snapped. Josh doesn't have any clients in marketing, I said, trying to keep my voice even. He doesn't even work in the same industry. Josh shot me a look over the rim of his beer. That look he's given me since we were kids, the silent, don't make this awkward warning. Well, I mean, he said quickly, grinning at my aunt, I know people. I gave her some advice. You know how shy she is. I haven't been shy since I was 12, but fine. I opened my mouth, then closed it. The room felt smaller, full of clinking silverware and overlapping conversations, and the smell of roast chicken. Mom called from the dining room, Maya, can you bring that salad in, sweetheart? So I did. I brought in the salad and swallowed my anger with a forkful of lettuce while everyone kept praising Josh for helping his little sister make something of herself. That wasn't the first time he'd rewritten my story. It was just the first time I realized how far it had gone. Growing up, the dynamic was always the same. Josh was the star. I was the side character. If he forgot his homework and I reminded him, Mom would say, "Oh, what would you do without your sister?" with a laugh. If I got an A, Dad would say, "Of course you did. You had Josh to look up to." It was annoying, but I told myself it didn't matter. I'd roll my eyes and go back to my books. At uni, I studied communications and marketing while Josh started his own consultancy after burning out of corporate sales. Every Christmas, he'd hold court about hustle culture and being his own boss, while I quietly interned and tried to build a portfolio. When I got my first agency job at 23, he joked, "So, you do posters now, right?" When I explained what a copywriter actually does, he said, "Hey, words are important too," like he was patting a toddler on the head. But as we got older, his comments shifted from patronizing to possessive. If I mentioned a new client, he'd say, "Yeah, that industry's exploding. I told Dad ages ago you should go into that." If I bought a new laptop, he'd announce, "I helped her pick it, she was going to get some cheap rubbish." Half the time, he was embellishing. Sometimes he outright lied. For years, I let it go. It felt petty to correct him, and my parents always looked so proud when he puffed himself up. Besides, I told myself, who cares what they think? I know what I've done. But then came the promotion. My agency announced it on LinkedIn with a big shiny post. My headshot, my name, new creative director, a paragraph about the campaign I'd led. Colleagues commented, clients commented, people from uni I hadn't spoken to in years commented. It felt really good. My parents saw it because my aunt sent it in the family group chat. Mum replied, "So proud of you, darling." Dad sent a thumbs up. Josh didn't say anything. I noticed, but I tried not to spiral about it. About a week later, I was at lunch at my parents' place again when Nana pulled me aside near the fridge. "So," she whispered, like we were in on a secret together, "your brother tells me he got you a big promotion in his company. That's clever, keeping it in the family." I actually laughed because it sounded so ridiculous. "In his company?" "Nana, I work at." I named my agency. She frowned, confused. "But he said you were doing some little creative things for him, and his business partner bumped you up to some director role." "That's not true." My laugh died in my throat. "No. That's definitely not true." I walked into the backyard in a daze. Josh was at the barbecue with Dad, talking loudly about interest rates. I caught snatches like my staff and scaling up. "Can I talk to you for a second?" I said, a little sharper than intended. He followed me around the side of the house, away from the patio. The air smelled like smoke and eucalyptus. "What's up?" he asked, taking a sip of his beer. "Why are you telling people you got me a promotion?" I kept my arms folded so I wouldn't start gesturing wildly. "Nana thinks I work for you, Josh." He rolled his eyes. "I never said you worked for me. I said I helped." "Relax." "No," I said, heart pounding. "You told her your business partner promoted me." "I don't even know your business partner." "It's not that deep, Maya." He shrugged. "You're being weird about this. They don't get what you do. It's easier if I frame it in a way they understand." "By lying?" He sighed heavily, like I was inconveniencing him. "You're always so sensitive. I'm just trying to make you look good. Do you want them to think you're some computer monkey?" I stared at him. "You could just tell the truth." "The truth is boring," he said, finishing his beer. "Anyway, it doesn't matter. Why are you making this about you? I have enough on my plate without you attacking me over semantics." Semantics? That word echoed in my head while he walked back toward the smell of grilled chicken and laughter. Over the next few weeks, I started noticing more distortions. At a cousin's birthday, I overheard him telling someone he'd connected me with a client I'd actually found myself. Mum kept dropping hints like, "Thank goodness your brother steered you toward marketing. You were so lost after high school," even though he'd mocked me for that degree at the time. It wasn't just harmless bragging. He was rewriting history so that he was the architect of my life, and everyone around us was accepting it as fact. Every time I tried to correct it, I was told I was making things awkward or overreacting. The final straw came via accident. I was at work late one night, waiting for feedback on a pitch deck. I was bored doom scrolling when a notification popped up. My aunt had tagged me in a Facebook post. It was a photo from a family barbecue I'd skipped to finish that pitch. In the comments, someone had written, "Your niece is doing so well. Saw that she got some award thing too." Josh had replied, "Yeah, proud big bro moment. I've been mentoring her on the business side of things for years. She's finally getting recognized." My thumb hovered over the screen. Mentoring. Years. That campaign had been my hands, my brain, my panic attacks at 3 a.m. because I didn't know if the concept would land. My friends and colleagues had supported me through it. Josh had not sent a single, "How's it going?" text. I don't know what exactly snapped in that moment, but something rearranged inside me. I was done being edited out of my own story. I screenshotted the comment. Then I started scrolling back through the family chat and social media looking for other examples. There were plenty. Got Maya into that great agency. Helped Maya negotiate her salary. Told Maya to go for that campaign idea. None of it true. I'm a copywriter by training. I know the power of narrative. And I realized that while I'd been busy building a career, Josh had been building a mythology where he was the puppet master. So, I did what any storyteller does when faced with a bad draft. I rewrote it. My agency had been invited to speak at a local small business networking night about branding. My boss asked if I'd be willing to present the case study on the award-winning campaign. "You're the face of this," he said. "Own it." A little idea started forming. Asked if I could invite friends and family. He said of course. More bodies and seats made the event look good. I sent out a group message. "Hey all. Our agency is doing a talk next Thursday about the campaign I led that won the award. I'm presenting. Would love to see some familiar faces if you're free." Most of my family scene zoned it. Josh replied, "Cool, I'll try to drop by if I'm not swamped." Mum wrote, "We'll see, darling. That's a late night." Fine. I invited my actual support network, Zoe from uni, my friend Danny, a couple of colleagues. I also invited my Nana directly, calling her and explaining it would be at the community center near her house. She lit up. "Oh, I'd love to see you in action," she said. On the night, I stood side stage with my notes in hand, listening to the MC introduce me. "Our next speaker is Maya, the creative director behind the It's Okay to Talk About It campaign that's been making waves." When I walked out, the room was half full. I spotted Nana in the second row, clutching her handbag. Behind her, my mum, surprisingly, and in the back, leaning against the wall in a blazer he clearly thought made him look important. Josh. My heart jumped into my throat. I took a breath. The presentation went well. I talked through the brief, the research, the insight that led to our central idea, the executions. Slides flicked behind me, mood boards, screenshots, the final films. I showed before and after stats. I played the short testimonial video where the CEO of the nonprofit said, "We couldn't have done this without Maya's leadership and compassion." On the last slide, my boss had insisted we include a screenshot of the award announcement, my name in big letters, next to the phrase, "Emerging Leader." When I finished, people clapped. There were few questions. Then the MC thanked me and invited everyone to mingle. I barely stepped off stage when Nana grabbed my hands. Her eyes were shiny. "You did all that?" she asked. "Yes," I said. "My team helped, but I led it." Mum hugged me too, looking stunned. "I had no idea it was like that," she said quietly. "I thought it was just Facebook posts." Before I could answer, Josh sauntered over, that same fixed grin on his face. "You smashed it, sis," he said, clapping me on the shoulder a little too hard. "See? All those talks we had about mindset paid off." Nana frowned. "What talks?" she asked. Josh didn't miss a beat. "Oh, she calls me when she's stressing and I give her the business big picture view. We make a good team." I felt the anger rise like heat up my neck, but this time I didn't swallow it. "Josh," I said, my voice calm but loud enough for Mum and Nana to hear, "we've never had a single conversation about this campaign." He laughed. "Oh, come on." "No," I said, meeting his eyes. "You didn't get me this job. You didn't negotiate my salary. You didn't mentor me. You didn't introduce me to a single client. You had nothing to do with this award. And you have been telling people that you did." The air between us went still. A few nearby people turned their heads. Mum's eyes widened. "Maya," Josh hissed under his breath, "this isn't the place." "It never seems to be the place," I said, my voice shaking now. At dinners, at barbecues, online, whenever you rewrite what I've done and put yourself at the center, I'm told not to make it awkward. But it is awkward. You're lying. You've been lying for years. He went red. "Wow. Seriously? You're going to humiliate me over a few offhand comments." "It's not offhand when Nana genuinely thinks I work for you," I said. "It's not offhand when our cousins think you got me a promotion that I worked my ass off for. It's not helping to take credit for things you didn't do." Mum looked between us like she was seeing us both clearly for the first time. "Is that true?" she asked Josh. He opened his mouth. "Closed it." "I was just trying to frame it in a way they'd understand," he muttered. Nana shook her head. "I understand very well what it means to work hard for something," she said. "Your sister shouldn't have to share credit for what she's done." Josh stormed off after that. muttering something about me being ungrateful. Mum followed him, but not before giving me a look that was half apology, half confusion. That night, for the first time, I didn't feel guilty for standing up for myself. I felt clean. Exposed, yes, but like I'd finally stepped into my own light. I went home, sat on my cheap IKEA couch, and stared at the photo someone had posted of me speaking, hands mid-gesture, a word slide behind me. The caption said, "Maya's sharing how good design can literally save lives." I realized how tired I was of being the footnote in my own story. So, I decided to build something that no one in my family could plausibly claim to have built for me. Something that, even in their wildest revisionist retellings, would be undeniably mine. I started my own studio. Not overnight, obviously. But over the next few months, I saved aggressively, took on a couple of freelance clients on the side, and slowly put together a plan. I wasn't leaving my agency in a blaze of drama. I actually liked my job. I just wanted something I owned. A space where my name was on the door, literally and metaphorically. I called it Legacy Creative, partly as a petty little inside joke. My legacy. Meaning. I built the website myself, wrote the copy, designed the logo, reached out to some contacts from the nonprofit campaign who'd already asked if I ever freelanced. Within 6 months, I had enough work lined up that I could go part-time at the agency and spend the rest on Legacy. I didn't tell my family at first. Not because I was hiding it, but because I didn't want to give Josh any time to weave himself into the narrative. I wanted to build a body of work before the inevitable. "Oh yeah, I told her to do that," comment started. The first person I officially told, aside from friends, was my Nana. I printed out my logo and some early mock-ups, brought them to her little unit, and spread them on her coffee table. "This is yours," she asked, tracing the letters. "All mine," I said. "No one else's." She smiled in this slow, proud way. "Good," she said. A few weeks later, Mum found out through Facebook someone had tagged my business page. She called, flustered, half proud, half annoyed. "Why didn't you tell us?" "Honestly," I said, "because I wanted to enjoy it before it became about Josh's advice." There was a long pause. Then, quietly, "I didn't realize it bothered you that much." "It does," I said. "It has for a long time." We talked for an hour that night. It wasn't some magical healing conversation, but it was the first time I heard her say, "I'm sorry. We should have noticed sooner." Josh, meanwhile, stayed mostly silent, which was fine by me. I wasn't building my studio to spite him, but I'd be lying if I said there wasn't a mean little gremlin in my brain that whispered, "Try taking credit for this, I dare you." Okay, quick commentary pit stop. Maya's situation is this very particular brand of family gaslighting that doesn't look like abuse on the surface, but it eats you alive over time. Josh isn't just bragging. He's running a PR campaign where he positions himself as the architect of Maya's life. And because he's been the golden child forever, no one questions it. His lies are plausible because they fit the family's pre-existing story. Josh is the successful one. Maya is someone you help. What I love is that Maya doesn't go for some over-the-top revenge stunt. She does something incredibly simple and powerful. She tells the truth, in public, with receipts. The networking event is such a smart setting, neutral ground, undeniable evidence, people outside the family validating her work. When Nana and Mum hear the CEO credit Maya by name, it punctures Josh's myth in a way no private argument ever could. Josh, of course, frames it as humiliation. That's classic manipulator behavior. He's comfortable lying about her in front of everyone, but the second she corrects the record, she's the one making it awkward. He benefits from her politeness. When she withdraws that politeness, his whole structure wobbles. Maya starting her own studio as Legacy Creative is chef's kiss. She's not just retaliating, she's building something that exists outside the family's distorted lens. It's not about him, even if his behavior lit the match. The healthiest part of this is that her endgame isn't ruin Josh, it's stop letting Josh narrate my life. Honestly, that's the kind of petty leaning into healthy boundary I fully endorse. Update, 11 months later. Hi again. A few people messaged me after my original post asking what happened with Josh and whether my family ever really got it. So, here's the messy sequel. Legacy Creative is almost a year old now. I'm tired all the time. My screen time is atrocious. My social life revolves around clients and cafe Wi-Fi, and I am weirdly, deeply happy. About 3 months after I officially launched, yes, I say we now, I've got a part-time designer working with me. Landed a mid-sized but very visible client, a local eco-friendly skincare brand. The campaign we ran for them blew up on Instagram. Nothing insane, but enough that their sales doubled, and they got picked up by a national retailer. They shouted us out in a press piece, talking about Maya and her boutique studio. That article is important later. Family-wise, things were cautiously improved. Mom started actually asking about my work beyond, "Are you busy?" Dad forwarded me an article about digital branding once and wrote, "Thought this might interest you," which almost made me cry. Nana kept a printout of my logo on her fridge. Josh and I, however, were still frosty. We saw each other at birthdays and holidays, exchanged polite small talk, and carefully avoided the topic of my career. I'd set a clear boundary after the networking night. If you tell people you got me my clients or my promotion again, I will correct you in front of them. He'd scoffed, but I think the embarrassment from that night stuck. Then came Mum's 60th. She decided she wanted a proper party at a function room, invited extended family, old neighbors, people from church, the whole circus. She asked me, very gently this time, if I'd help with the invitations. I agreed on the condition that my name actually appear on them as the designer. She laughed and said yes, and for once, followed through. The night of the party, I arrived early to help set up. As I was wrestling a balloon arch into some semblance of dignity, I heard my name from the other side of the curtain. "Yeah, she does some social stuff for me," Josh was saying. His voice had that familiar bragging lilt. "Keeps my brand sharp. It's good, to give her some experience while she's building her thing." I peeked around the curtain. He was talking to 2 men around his age, both in suits. They had name badges from some finance firm. My stomach sank. One of them, Tom? Tim. Nodded. We saw that skincare case study. Impressive stuff. We were actually thinking of reaching out to her about a fintech rebrand. Josh laughed. "Oh, you can just go through me," he said. "I handle the strategy side for her. She's more on the artsy end." I felt my heartbeat in my teeth. It was like being hurled back in time, except now he wasn't just playing puppet master with family perception. He was positioning himself as my handler to potential clients. For a second, I froze. I thought about backing away, keeping the peace, dealing with it later. Then I remembered all the times later had turned into never, and how many small lies had calcified because I'd been too afraid of making a scene. So, I walked out from behind the curtain. "Actually," I said, my voice bright but firm, "Legacy Creative is just me on the strategy and creative side. If you want to talk shop, I'm happy to chat directly." The 2 men looked surprised, then embarrassed. "Oh," one of them said. We didn't realize his eyes flicked between me and Josh. Josh gave me a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "Here she is, the star of the show," he said, trying to sound jovial. "We're just talking about collaborating, aren't we, May? I always loop you in." "No," I said, still smiling. "You don't. And just to be crystal clear, Josh doesn't manage me, represent me, or oversee my work. We're siblings. That's it." There was a tiny beat of silence. The clink of glasses and distant DJ playlist filled the gap. One of the guys cleared his throat. "Thanks for clarifying," he said, directing his attention fully at me now. "That case study was great. Maybe we can set up a call next week." "Absolutely," I said, pulling out my phone to take his contact info. "I'll email you." They wandered off toward the bar, leaving me and Josh standing under a cluster of helium balloons. "What the hell was that?" he hissed. "Me," I said, protecting my business from someone misrepresenting it. He scoffed. "You're so dramatic. I was just hyping you up." "By telling them they had to go through you?" I asked. By implying I'm your junior? He rolled his eyes. You don't get how this works. People are more comfortable dealing with someone established. I'm just smoothing the path. I stared at him. You're not smoothing the path. You're standing in front of the door and telling people you built the house. He opened his mouth, then closed it. His jaw clenched. You've done this my whole life. I went on quietly now. Turn my work into your good deed. I let it go when it was just family gossip because I didn't think it really mattered. But this is my actual livelihood, Josh. You don't get to play puppet master with that. He laughed once, harshly. You really think you got here on your own? Who gave you your first freelance gig? Who helped you with your first contract? I blinked. You mean that flyer I did for your mate's gym where you paid me with a gift card and then complained it was too modern? His cheeks went red. Wow, he said. Ungrateful much. I felt this weird calm settle over me. I'm not ungrateful, I said. I'm just done letting you narrate my life. Before he could respond, Mum appeared, all flustered and glittery. You two aren't fighting, are you? She asked, glancing between us, clearly terrified of drama at her party.
No, I said.
We're clarifying boundaries. Josh muttered something about needing air and stalked off. Later that night, during speeches, something unexpected happened. Dad took the mic to say a few words about Mum, as expected. Then, near the end, he said, and I just want to say how proud I am of both our kids. Joshua, with his business, and Maya, with her agency, Legacy Creative. I read that article about the skincare company she worked with. They said her campaign basically doubled their sales. He didn't mention Josh mentoring me. He didn't credit him for my work. He named my studio properly. It was such a small thing, but I felt my throat tighten. I caught Nana's eye across the room. She gave me a firm little nod like, see? It's changing. After the party, the fintech guys actually did call. We had a Zoom. We talked about timelines and budgets. At no point did they mention Josh. I landed the contract. I didn't tell my family until the campaign was live. When the fintech firm posted about us on LinkedIn, tagging Legacy Creative, praising Maya's strategic insight, I shared it with a caption about how grateful I was to be building something of my own. A few hours later, I got a text from Josh. Congrats on the win. Would have been nice to be looped in. I could have brought you more clients from my network. I stared at it for a full minute. Then I typed back. I'm happy to work with anyone who comes to me directly. But I won't have you representing me or taking credit. That's not negotiable. He left me on read. We're not no contact. We still see each other at family things. But there's a new, cooler layer between us now. He doesn't brag about helping me anymore. Not because he's suddenly humble, but because he knows I'll correct him. That's all boundaries really are sometimes. The knowledge that if someone crosses a line, there will be a consequence, even if it's just public discomfort. As for me, Legacy is growing. Slowly, imperfectly, with the usual freelancer panic about invoices and dry months and scope creep. But every client I land, every case study I write, every late night I spend tweaking a deck, I know exactly whose success it is.
Mean it.
Not because I'm some self-made island, but because I can point to the people who actually helped friends, mentors, colleagues, and none of them are pretending they built my life for me. I invited my family to a small one-year birthday drinks for the studio next month. Casual thing at a bar. Low-key. If they come, great. If they don't, I'll still raise a glass with the people who were there in the trenches with me. Either way, my legacy isn't up for reinterpretation anymore. Alright, let's unpack the cast of this saga, because there are some very familiar archetypes here. Maya, Opie, she's the classic overlooked sibling who learns, painfully slowly, that being good at something doesn't guarantee anyone will give you proper credit for it. You can feel how long she's carried this don't make waves conditioning. She's been swallowing her discomfort for years, laughing off Josh's lies to keep the peace. The turning point is beautifully ordinary. A Facebook comment and a networking talk. No huge betrayal, no screaming match, just accumulated microcuts finally hitting nerve. Her evolution is basically, what if I stopped agreeing to disappear? Starting her own studio is both strategic and symbolic. She isn't just running from Josh, she's running toward a life where her work and name are directly connected. 10 out of 10 for growth, boundaries, and the audacity to call a studio legacy in a family that kept trying to assign her legacy to someone else. Josh, the brother, he's not mustache-twirling evil, but he is absolutely awful in a deeply realistic way. His ego needs to be the protagonist so badly that he colonizes other people's achievements. The way he constantly reframes his lies as helping is textbook manipulation. I'm just framing it so they understand is really I'm centering myself because I'm uncomfortable not being the hero. The worst moment is the fintech interaction. He's literally trying to insert himself as gatekeeper between Maya and her own clients. That isn't harmless bragging. That's attempted professional sabotage dressed up as Big Brother benevolence. He deserves every ounce of public awkwardness she dishes out. Whether he ever self-reflects is his problem. Her job is to hold the line. Mom and Dad, they're frustrating but not hopeless. They bought into the golden son, background daughter narrative for years, probably because it was easy and familiar. When presented with hard evidence, a speech, an article, a room full of people taking Maya seriously, they gradually adjust. Dad name-checking legacy creative without attaching Josh to it is a small but meaningful correction. They're examples of how older relatives can change once someone pushes back on the comfortable story. Are they suddenly perfect parents?
No.
But they do start to treat Maya like an autonomous adult, and that matters. Nana, quiet MVP. She's the one who unknowingly exposes Josh's lies, then later firmly sides with Maya's reality. Every family needs a Nana who says, your sister shouldn't have to share credit. Overall, this isn't a revenge bloodbath, it's a boundary story. The satisfying part isn't Josh collapsing in disgrace. It's that his ability to rewrite Maya's life shrinks, while her ownership over her narrative expands. The legacy she builds isn't just a business, it's the knowledge that she no longer needs anyone, least of all her insecure brother, to introduce her to herself.